Hi, this is Brad, and welcome to Motionworks Careers interview series talking about hiring strategies for this year. So, my guest today is Timothy Trahan, Senior Technical Recruiter at Woven by Toyota. Timothy, thanks for taking time out of your busy day to meet with us today.
My pleasure, Brad. Thanks for having me.
Nice. So, for starters, yeah, can you just tell us a little about your background and what your role is at Woven, and a little about your team and some of the positions that you're looking to fill this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been living here in Japan for more than a decade. Started out my career in recruiting as an agency side, and I've been working exclusively in the tech area. Uh, Woven by Toyota, we're hiring a wide variety of different kinds of roles around mostly software engineering, specifically for mobility and automotive related software. And then also some things that are kind of new around Woven City. Um, we have a relatively large team here in recruiting, about almost 20 people at the moment. Um, and we're definitely hiring a lot of positions here.
Nice. And what are some of the more challenging positions for you to fill here?
I think that because most of our recruiting is oriented toward hiring engineers and people in the around that creative area, we kind of sometimes play like are not emphasizing enough around the things like the legal desk and also like the accountants and other HR professionals here. They're kind of seen as support people, and so those roles, while we are having a lot of luck in finding out about them, they don't have the same kind of. It's not as easy to market them as it is our software engineering areas because everyone knows that we're a software engineering company, but they don't realize that we need accountants and legal people as well too.
Right. And total employees here in Japan are around how many people now?
Globally, we've got about 1,800 people. Here in Japan, I think it's about 1,200 here in our office. Yeah.
Okay. And very cool offices there. I see in the background, you've got some very cool workspaces there for employees. Just wanted to talk about like what are some of the perks of working at Woven?
Well, I think the number one thing is that we are doing something really unique in terms of building software for automotive here in Tokyo, which I think it's something that we're really focused on innovating here around things like autonomous driving and other kinds of technologies that are using some of the newer sensors that Toyota's putting into their cars. Um, and then there's also the Woven City project, which is it's a whole city that we're building as a test bed for the latest built technology around mobility. So we have, for example, delivery drones and a lot of automated logistics systems for all the shops and all the houses and deliveries and things like that that we're building into the site. Um, so I think in terms of the types of positions that we're having here, they're very I think focused on building something new. And the other kinds of perks that we're having around, I mean, we got 6 floors out of this building in the middle of Nihonbashi. It's really a beautiful place and a beautiful, facility itself. We also have things like a cafeteria in-house. We've got also we've got free massages as well too. You can also we have some of the company cars loaded up with the latest software as well too, and you can borrow those as you need to sometimes. Um, and then also I think we tend to take care of our employees, especially those who are focused on like I said, doing their best around this area of building new things into mobility.
Cool. Very nice. So that's probably a good lead into my next question, which is like right now, especially in 2023 and kind of from now on post COVID, what are candidates looking for in a company and a position nowadays?
That's a good question. And I was thinking about this the other day whenever I was thinking about how we're going to be changing kind of the way that we communicate with candidates about our open roles. But I think that one of the things that's really come to the forefront is the fact that people really see flexibility of work from home as being something that's a big value add. And I'm seeing the types of people that we talk to often, They're the ones who they look not only at the salary and the position, but also the kind of lifestyle that they're going to be having whenever they're actually working with us. So, for example, if you could call it a benefit or maybe the privilege of being able to work from a resort or maybe from, some other, your spouse's location, or maybe also even, working from your parents' house for a month. Those are types of things that a lot of people really appreciate. Also, like being able to commute off peak and things like that too. That's something that people really appreciate. If you're, working here in the middle of Tokyo, it's quite a big value add.
Nice. No, definitely. I mean, there's been a big shift. So I mean, it's good to get insight on that, on what companies are offering and if they're really listening to what candidates are looking for. So, and how about on the social media front? Like, how proactive are you using kind of social media channels or those kind of things to engage with candidates?
That's a good question, Brad. So, what we're looking to do is really engage with a community of people who you can often find online. LinkedIn is definitely something that we're utilizing, but we're also trying other things as well too, such as going to GitHub, and also some in-person events here in Japan. Some of the kinds of articles that we're doing have a lot of owned media that is around, it's focusing on engineering topics as well too, that's quite relevant. And so we find that some people find out about us through these other kinds of owned media, uh, a little bit more than just the job ads on LinkedIn, actually.
Okay, nice. And that kind of leads into the next question of like what works and what doesn't anymore.
Around recruiting, right? What kind of things work? And I think that one thing is that I've seen a lot of consolidation around like job boards and things like that because we're looking for kind of a person who has a very international mindset and can work with a big diverse group of people. We actually have to kind of focus a little bit more on the international community of people here who are looking to join Japan, or at least the English speaking side. And so in that case, like there's some job boards that are not so useful to us as I have experienced having a lot of success with in the past as a headhunter. But here, because we're so focused on this little bit niche area of automotive software, it's just not quite as useful. Um, so I think that these kind of like very domestic style kind of job sites that tend to categorize people very, narrowly, or also sometimes too broad, they're not as useful to us. So these like paid sites, not so much using these days. On the other hand, though, we are doing a lot of things through referrals, and also by engaging with these tech talent communities that we're having. Um, and I think that's helped us out with being quite successful in hiring here in Japan.
Nice. All right. And how much employer branding are you doing? I know you have a really good career website that is very informative of what you're doing there. But on the employer branding side, what have you done to kind of up the game?
Thank you so much for pointing out the fact that we have a nice website. I really appreciate that. Um, so one of the things that we've brought on board over the years some people who are actually part of the leadership committees of deciding C++ standards. And these people who come to us now, a lot of them they know about us through these types of events and discussions that happen around C++ globally. That's one really interesting thing. Another thing too, I think, is the fact that we are the world's largest automaker by the number of units that we sell every year. Um, actually, I take it back. I think that we kind of swap places with one other German manufacturer every few years or something. But having that big Toyota name behind us, I think, is something that really helps out with, if you want to do software around cars, our company is logically the one that you would want to check out and learn about our job opportunities here.
Nice. And as a senior experienced recruiter here in Japan, like what are you doing to kind of stay competitive in this market?
That's a good question. And I think it's really important to keep on learning. I approach every kind of, I guess, like situation I'm in with a beginner's mind, a chance to really learn more. But I think that one of the things that's helped me keep up to date over the years is just by listening really closely to people who I meet who are interested in my company, what their thoughts on our different topics. what's working for them, what they're really keen on learning about, how they approach us as well too, how they learn about us. I always make sure to ask these questions. And by doing that, I get to understand about, the ways that these people who are looking for a job in this area, what they think about, what kind of questions they have for us, and just try to anticipate those and present ourselves in a way to make sure that we can highlight the match between us and the person who's looking to apply.
As for yourself, coming from the agency side into in-house, what are some pointers just in general working with agencies and selecting the agencies to work with?
Yeah, so I think that whenever I'm looking to work with an agency, I'm always looking to see about what kind of value they can bring in terms of market insight they can provide, their knowledge of the depth of the market. Um, Also, as well too, I think whenever they're, actually talking to people about our positions, that they would be able to represent us very well and say a lot about the benefits of Woven to try to get more people to apply. I think is one of the things as well too. Of course, reach is also a big thing in addition to that. Um, People who are quite proactive and not just like posting jobs and then waiting for people to apply and then, sending them over to us, I think is another thing too. And I think that you have to really meet a lot of people in the industry to be able to understand about how Woven fits into our unique, I guess you could say, employer brand that we have, and how you can communicate that best. Um, and I think another thing too is just having a lot of ability to interact with the hiring managers, the people who are actually making decisions here, and making sure that the process is really transparent for everyone.
And what's the best way for candidates to learn more about jobs or apply directly?
Yeah, so I think that if you look at our website, you'll be able to see an up-to-date list of our jobs. Everything's there. It definitely gives you a list of priorities that we're having here at Woven. Um, and in terms of like if there's any other kinds of questions that you have that are not about, how do I apply, you definitely reach out to me directly on LinkedIn.
Nice. Well, Tim, thanks again for making time in your busy day. I know you're in a nice office, but you're also very busy filling roles. So thanks again for joining us.
Oh, thank you very much, Brad. It's always a pleasure.
All right. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for more great content from Motionworks Careers.